Hi, thanks for joining me. So today I'm doing an impressions video for the most part, kind of a mini review of the game Time Stalkers on the Sega Dreamcast. I keep wanting to call it Time Splitters because it has such a similar name. But this is an RPG in the same series as Landstalker and Lady Stalker. We got Landstalker here, I believe, on the Sega Genesis and quite possibly the Super Nintendo, although I'm not 100% sure on that. I don't know that we got any version of Lady Stalker here, unfortunately, but we did get Time Stalkers, and this is a pretty good game. I actually had put it on my bucket list. I made a bucket list a while back. I put 12 games on there that I definitely want to play, before I die. Games that maybe I've neglected over the years. I've just wanted to play and just never gotten around to it. So checking a few off the list here, and this was one of them. I was pleasantly surprised by this game, and it was funny when I did that other video. I remember somebody commenting, going, "Oh man, you're, you're gonna be disappointed in that one." And I kind of get where they're coming from. I could see some people being put off by this, but I actually really got into it. As you can see here, we have a little monster corral, and maybe by way of explanation, I don't get into every single kind of monster raising style game, but I absolutely loved the Monster Farm / Monster Rancher series. I played the first one, the second one, the third one, the card battle. I didn't really get into 4 and Evo as much. I tried out Evo, and that was it was getting a little tired, and that was a weird departure. But I sort of like that general idea of collecting and raising monsters, a la Pokemon, despite the fact that I really haven't gotten into those games that much. So you have that in here, and I think it's really fun. In addition to that, you also have this is a roguelike. And I'm counting it as basically my first roguelike. Certainly my first roguelike that I felt like was as accessible and that I played to completion. I haven't finished the game with all of the characters. There are multiple playable characters in this. You have our main character here, Sword. You also have Pyra. I think it's Leo. No, wait, what is it? Rao is his name. He's a lion, so I don't know I don't know where I got Leo from, but maybe that was in the Japanese version. You've also got Nigel and Friday, which are the protagonists from Landstalker. So just very interesting in that regard. Each of the characters has some different abilities that they can get, sort of different core strengths and stats. And in some ways, this is a very, it's somewhat unforgiving and technical, but at the same time, you can see it has a lot of charm. It just has a really unique and interesting atmosphere. There are a lot of things about this game that I think are they're not perfect, and they're even sort of underwhelming. But I think for me at least, it comes together to have this this sort of small, charming quality to it. Like, this isn't this vast, epic, expansive game. It's kind of just this little self-contained. You have this one hub town, and onto that sort of become tacked these dungeons that you can go into, and it's just about dungeon crawling. It's a straight up roguelike dungeon crawler. So unfortunately, there seem to be a lot of kind of intricacies of this that don't seem to be well explained in the manual. A lot of it refers to go to the website to find out more information, which doesn't exist anymore, unfortunately. Isn't archived on archive.org. So there are facts out there. But I think at its core, the gameplay is pretty accessible. At least it was for me. So I wasn't really put off by it. You can see here that we have randomly sort of procedurally generated dungeons, or at least they're shuffled dungeons. It's not going to be the same every time. Each time you go into your dungeon, you're going to start off right at level 1. And the cool thing is, though, is you can capture different monsters. So you're going to capture the monsters, take them out of the dungeon, and there's all kinds of ways that you can, lose some of these things permanently. If you have a monster and you use it in the dungeon, you can do that. You can lose it if it's not registered. To register it, you have to actually be able to take it outside of the dungeon, take it to one of those rooms that I went into earlier, and register it as one of yours, and then you won't lose that. But yeah, you're basically going through these dungeons and collecting items to just try to make it through. Each time is a new adventure, and for someone used to RPGs where you're sort of progressively leveling up, you're not like losing levels or anything. I could see people being really put off by this, especially if you didn't know. And I mean, I didn't know that this was a roguelike, but at least at this point I have an idea of what a roguelike is like. So once I realized what this was, I was like, okay, this is my chance to try to get into a roguelike. I've played Sorcery Saga just a little bit on the Vita, which seems really fun and cute, but I just didn't keep going with it. I have other things on the Vita that I think, distracted me. But I was in a Dreamcast mood, and this has just been the right thing for me. This didn't take that long to finish. I probably, I played it over like a week or two. I'm a little foggy. At least 2 weekends. And I'd say, it was a good, I don't know what, 15-20 hours maybe, something like that, just to kind of go through all the dungeons and get one of the endings. The first time I went through this, I died in this first dungeon. There are some things about it that are a little tough. You start off with a limited set of actions here, as you can see. All of my actions are not available to me, and it was really unclear as to why that is, but basically all of your equipped skills take a certain amount of stats. So you can actually seal skills, and some of the terminology around the the stuff is a little confusing. But when you seal your skill, it's equipped, but it's like not active. So it's not drawing from your stats. So like, let's say your dexterity stat is at 5, and maybe one of your skills takes 3 dexterity and the other skill takes 4 dexterity. If you have just one of those active at any one time, you could use it, but if you have them both active, you actually can't use either of them. So I think maybe we'll see. We can see here, yeah, so we've gone through the skill list, and we can see how these, clairvoyance and air smash, actually, interestingly enough, they take 3 and 4 dexterity each. So I'm actually going to raise my dexterity, so I just have a little more to work with, and then if we head out, we can actually go to skills, and then we can seal one of them, so at least we have access to something here. So we'll seal capture. If we seal air slash, now we can see that clairvoyance is mastered, so we at least have that skill available to us. That kind of thing, it's a little persnickety, and I did not understand that until much further in the game. That's a nice thing, I guess, is you don't have to get every intricacy of the game to enjoy it and have fun with it. It's really fun, for me at least, going through these dungeons, collecting all of this stuff. You have, your basic resources that you're managing is your hunger. These little kind of purple stomach icons next to each of the characters. You have to maintain something there. If those completely run out, the characters that are with you are going to start to die. They'll start to lose HP, and then they'll just die. Now that's not always the most horrible thing. You can either bring out more monsters that you have, capture more monsters and use them, or just complete the dungeons without a monster. You can also get revive fruits, so you can bring them back to life. But if your main character runs out of hunger points, then they'll die, and the game will just be over. So that can become a real issue in some of the later dungeons if you're not finding the items that you need. There are things you can do to find more items. That clairvoyance skill is one. You actually have a search button. So one of the buttons will let you search any of the orange squares, and sometimes those, like the ones in the big rooms, have traps. So it can be really important to search, but every time you search, it takes some of the hunger. So you're always weighing all of these sort of pros and cons, like, well, you know, maybe your hunger is really low and you need hunger items, so it really behooves you to like search for the hunger items, you know, hunger replenishing items. But if you can't find any, you know, every time you search, it's taking the hunger. And I've had in certain dungeons that just ended the game for me. So it's a different experience every time. When I was playing this game, and once you get your head around how it works, it started to feel a little easy. In fact, to the point where I'm like, man, I don't know, this is kind of a breeze. I wonder if, you know, if there's even going to be any more challenge to this game. You know, shortly after, in the same dungeon when I was thinking that, I reached one of the floors and ran into an enemy that just mopped the floor with me. Like, one hit killed my character, one of my monsters, and then my main character, and I died. So, you know, the final dungeon was kind of tough. Once you unlock more of the characters, each ones have kind of strengths and weaknesses, so some of them end up being better for certain dungeons than others. I had to go with a character that, you know, whose stats were a little better for me for the final dungeon. And the only things that you're carrying through is like a set of 4 items that you can bring into the dungeons. Sometimes you're gonna really want to bring in some of those, you know, hunger replenishing items, some sort of food. You know, sometimes, you know, if you have weapons and armor and stuff, you're going to want to deck your characters out so they can, you know, take more damage or dish more out. So it's a lot of fun, a lot of things to consider when you're going into these dungeons and running through this. And it's really fun, like, just collecting the items and the monsters, and getting more skills to kind of help you get through the, you know, the dungeons and playing with the different characters. I had a bunch of fun with this. The story is kind of like fun, a little bit clever, but it's not particularly deep. It's not particularly long. You know, I wouldn't expect too much from it. It's kind of just there to, you know, provide something to move the game along. In the end, it's kind of all about going through the dungeons. This game is definitely not perfect, but for me, I had so much fun with it. I'm really, really glad that I played this game, and I would recommend anybody that thinks this seems interesting to give it a try. Thanks for watching.